Another issue that I'd like to raise in the grievance debate is the current announcements at the moment from the Beetaloo Basin that, not surprising, I guess, News Limited announcement that Beetaloo is now a proven gas powerhouse. What we should be really announcing that it is a proven emissions and climate bomb. So even before yesterday's announcement, the project has been reported to cause greenhouse gas emissions that will equate to the equivalent of 20% of Australia's total emissions inventory. That's right, 20% of our nation's emissions from one project, monstrous. Yesterday, Tamboran announced to the ASX that its preliminary drilling results indicated more gas, faster flow rates, and that reserves were higher than expected. So even more emissions as we are all in the midst of a climate crisis. So this announcement came with bullish rhetoric, with expansion, that the project is close to financial closure of the initial wells and that plans for many, many more wells. Now, the claims that the project will meet the projected gas shortfalls for the East Coast market were unsurprisingly not met with any challenge in the media or any testing as to their veracity. In fact, when the Tamboran was delivered that they are the one and only solution to address shortfall that is projected on the East Coast, there's just so much that is misleading and problematic about those claims. Because firstly, the latest ACCC gas inquiry states there are no expected shortfalls until 2028 and that this may well change depending on gas demand and the rapid transition to renewable energy. That even in the event of a shortfall, this project is not the one and only solution, as unfortunately we have a list of multiple new gas fields being approved by the government and, like Beetaloo, are all yet identifying that they will somehow supply a shortfall. We also have not identified, Beetaloo has not identified how any pipeline or way in which they will deliver such gas to the East Coast, because I think the inference is there that what will in fact happen will be yet more gas for export, for sale internationally, and of course record profits and very little revenue back to the Australian people on the government's proposed PRRT legislation. Further, there is a grave concern in relation to its project expansion that it should be subject to approvals, including one currently pending before there is commercialisation, and it relies on the approvals and then building of some of the pipeline. But also, in relation to yesterday's announcement, the proposal is still pending an approval from the Northern Territory government, and yet a Northern Territory minister continues to publicly support the expansion of this project before it has even been approved, of course giving really concerning issues of bias and undermining any kind of approval process. But even in this place, yesterday's announcement brings up a more serious issue, which is this project has still not been referred to the Minister for the Environment under the EPBC Act. And despite the gravity of this proposal and its potential environmental impacts, it hasn't yet come under federal scrutiny. Last year, the EPBC Act was amended to include a water trigger, an amendment that was recommended by Scientific Pepper Inquiry into the Beetaloo Basin. This incredibly important because it looked at the impacts of the projects and the risk to the water table. And overwhelmingly, the key concerns in the inquiry was that farmers, locals, vets, First Nations leaders was the potential impact of onshore shale gas industry on water resources. And so why, when there is that risk of contamination, a key concern in relation to the Northern Territory and their water from this basin, why has this project not yet come before the Minister for the Environment for consideration under the EPBC Act? And so when we talk about the impact of climate on children and this reckless behaviour, there is a strong disconnect.